Hi there, friends. I thought it'd be a good idea to maybe try this data again. I actually figured out that Google Docs isn't broken or Google Spreadsheet isn't broken. I'm broken, and there's one cool nuance I forgot about. Because normally I do my data in upright columns versus rows like this. But let's see if we can get this figured out. So that this is the data that you got, and remember that you did this once already for an assignment, old school. Most people did a great job of graphing it, and you might recall that the x-axis would actually be the depth, which in this case would be the how far down we went into the ice. It could start out with ice. That would be the independent variable. And the dependent variable on the y-axis would have been temperature. And so what we do is, that, like we did with the other graphs, and we start out this, is we highlight the area we want to graph. So I'm highlighting that area, and I insert my graph. And the chart that I want to use is going to be scatter graph. It's kind of like x versus y. So I hit charts. Here is scatter, and I click on this, and yikes, I get this up and down thing again. Well, I forgot that when you do the limit one limiting factors here, but when you do it on Google Docs like this, if I go now to start, if I switch rows with columns, you notice all of a sudden I get my line graph. Now, the only problem here is that it's backwards. But instead of having the depth here, we got temperature here, and so that's not a good thing. So I'm going to hit cancel, say goodbye, I don't want that. And it's just a funky thing when it comes to using either Excel or when it comes to using Google Spreadsheet. That whatever bit of data is first, whether in this case it's this row first or here this column first, that what ends up on the x-axis. So when you graph it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this first one and cut it and then paste it right below here. So now what I do is I have depth and with temperature below it. So now if I do my highlight, I go to insert chart, I hit the chart that I want, which is the XY scatter, get my straight line again, but I go back to the start here and switch rows and columns. Now all of a sudden I have the graph that looks very similar to what you guys did longhand. That remember, for the first 0.6 of a meter it was 0, 0, 0 because that's the temperature here. It was the ice. Then it kind of went up to 3.9. Now of course this isn't correct yet because we have to put a chart title in. And under Customize we get those options like you did with the bar graph. So I can put in spinach. Not that that's what I want, but spinach. So you get the idea. You can put stuff in there. And if I scroll down a little bit farther, horizontal axis. Well, the horizontal axis in this case actually is depth. So I'm going to write in depth. And it was meters. And that's good. And then I flip the horizontal here and change it to left vertical. And now I can put in my temperature. Let's write temp. And I'll put a C there for centigrade. Now we're pretty much done, except for the spinach part there. I'm going to hit cancel for now. But that's how you would do that graph, and you might want to try doing that graph. Now, if the data was in a column like this, which is the same data here, remember it's just in a column, it's the same kind of idea. That remember, this is the Y, this is the x-axis. In other words, this is the dependent, that's dependent, and down here I just cut and pasted them together again. So this is the x, this is the y. And because, remember the spreadsheets here, they always graph whatever is the first column, or in this case the first row, on the x-axis, then this is the one I'm going to use. So if I highlight this, and do the same thing again, and say, okay, charts, go to scatter graph, and click on that. Well, this time I don't have to switch the rows and columns, go to switch, so it's done already. And again, I would put in spinach and all these other kind of things. So that's how you actually do it. So it wasn't Google broken. My brain was broken temporarily, but that's okay. We'll keep practicing on this. But this should look very similar to the graph that you guys all did a great job on in class. Remember, it goes up to 3.9, and you've got trying to figure out what happened to 5 in other places. So that would be it. So if you get a chance, you might want to try this, because at some point it will be an expectation that you can do this.